UPBOptionMillionaires.com. It's the last day of January 2017. That would be January 31st. It's a Tuesday. S&P 500 futures down for a second consecutive session this week. We started a week on a negative note yesterday and continuing that today down 0.2%. But we did have a last couple minute rally in the S&P 500. Look at that move we had to offset a lot of the losses that we saw out of the opening bell, out of the gate yesterday. So giving back some of that here this morning, still well off the lows that we saw yesterday. If you look, the US dollar index is also in a battle at that 100 level. And if you pull up a long-term chart, you can see US dollar index here just fighting right at that $100 level the last 2 hours this morning for the US dollar index. Look from a long-term chart perspective, that 100 level right there, so key of this bull flag breakout that we saw in the middle of last year to 14-plus year highs for the US dollar index. Mr. Trump calling it overvalued, the U.S. dollar, talking it down. But I think overall, the trend is going to be higher for the U.S. dollar index, despite what Trump says, because I think a lot of his policies are going to be bullish for the U.S. dollar, which on the flip side is going to bring gold prices even lower. I know you gold bulls loving the start of the year. We had a beautiful bounce to start the year last year, 2016, up into the springtime, pulled back. Nice little move to start this year. Look at that move. Consolidating here, possible a little bit more room to go to the upside for gold, but I think longer term, gold is going to pull back because as U.S. dollar rallies, as it's done historically, really over the last 15, 20 years, when the U.S. dollar rallies, gold falls, and this looks like a terribly nasty topping pattern here over the last couple years for gold, and you can see long-term pattern. U.S. dollar index was up here back in 2000. And the U.S. dollar index, when gold was up here, was all the way down here. So we're seeing a flip. Right now, U.S. dollar and gold are right here, right? Fighting with each other. U.S. dollar index is going to be up here. Gold is going to fall. Continue to baffle those gold bugs. Now let's look at some charts because we have earnings really heating up this week. We have Facebook and Apple reporting earnings. So let's look at Facebook. First, we have S&P 500, ETF, the spiders. You see breaking back into this channel, something I talked about in my post yesterday at the blog at OptionMillionaires.com. Can we hold this level and continue this breakout that we saw at the start to middle of last week? So far, it does not look good, especially with futures falling today. We have to really recover some of the losses to get back above that channel that we've been sitting in really for a month and a half. IWM small caps, remember back at the election day, the Friday before the election. See this red candle? That was Thursday. This is the Friday before the election. And then, of course, we had Clinton. The FBI stopped their investigation of her, and we had S&P 500 futures rally that Monday. Then we had Election Day. And this is the Wednesday after Election Day. What were we up like? Something like 13 straight trading days in a row for the IWM. Let's see. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13. It was like 15. 13, 15. It's a huge move to the upside for the small caps. And this was really after we'd fallen, 9 consecutive days for the S&P 500. The point being here is the small caps have been leading the market really over the last 6 months. I call it the canary in the coal mine. So if we see the support here break for small caps, possibly bringing us back here to support at 125, that would spell a pretty strong case for weakness for the S&P 500 as well as the NASDAQ, which saw its really big first red candle of the year yesterday. Another flagging pattern broke out last week. Are we going to break back into that 125 level, confirm this breakout, or are we going to fall back into this channel and muddle around for another month and a half like we saw back in the summer of last year? Yeah, that was a lot of fun. And really implying just a lack of movement recently has been the VIX. The volatility index dropping to almost single digits. Unbelievable. Let's look at Facebook. As I said, I'd bring up Facebook. We have earnings report coming up for Facebook. Breaking out here, almost a double top. But are we forming some sort of a cup and handle formation for Facebook? One thing I could say is Facebook has been liking the trend for quite a long time. Remember, Barron's, one of the most widely followed publications, came out and said Facebook is worth $15 a share. It did fall initially after its IPO at $40, but it's been really respecting the trend every single step along the way over 2.5 years. Even the most recent drop, we briefly broke through support, bounced up to the 130 level, and you can see even yesterday with the weakness, we're still over $130 a share. I think the path of least resistance still for Facebook is to the upside. Probably going to break to new all-time record highs after earnings report. Will it be enough to trade out of the money calls? Not so sure. Maybe a 2 to 3% move would be enough just to squash all of the out of money premiums. So this might be something sitting on the sidelines if we trade flat to open the session after its earnings report. Would be something that we possibly could trade the next day for upside. That's Facebook reporting earnings. We have Amazon reporting earnings as well. There's another stock, similar kind of pattern here. Cup and handle formation under support, though. Is this something that's going to break above it into the 900 range? Something you're looking for maybe for a Google. When it reported earnings, Google disappointed. And let's just bring up the Google chart for a second here. You can see the pullback it's had after its earnings report. Back to support here is a nice flagging pattern. But again, long-term consolidation over a year have been just mired right near this $800 figure. And if you remember, Google back at the start of 2015 mired at this $550 level. It was the April earnings report that launched at $200. That's when you had 10-cent options go to $100 for Google. Same thing here. We're seeing Google, this recent action. We get back into this flag. Maybe the April report will be what launches it. As far as Amazon's concerned, I think that'll be the first stock to head to $1,000. Will it be this earnings season? So far, it does not look like we're getting these robust earnings reports that are going to launch stocks to the moon. But serious contention, though, for Amazon to hit new all-time record highs at $900 a share after its earnings reports. We have the small caps. Last thing we'll pull up here before we get going, it's about 20 minutes before the opening bell this morning. The bond market, and you can see TLT respecting this resistance. And we have the Federal Reserve this week. We could see maybe a move down to support here for the bond market. Again, the weaker bond prices here, TLT 20-year Treasury ETF, would imply expectations for higher interest rates, which is something we might see. But of course, momentum, which has been really, really negative here for TLT, starting to turn possible buy signal here coming up for TLT. You can see back in the middle of 2015, a nice buy signal and got a $17 move to the upside. But I think we're going to come down to support first before that happens, and then ultimately possibly breaking back up into the 120s again. All right, UPBOptionMillionaires.com. I'll see you in the chat room. US dollar index fighting at 100. S&P 500 futures down 0.2%. I do think, though, and as I talked about it yesterday, every single dip since the lows of March 2009 has been a great buy the dip opportunity. Actually, you can go back to the prehistoric era. Anytime anyone bought the dip, heck, there was Tyrannosaurus Rex buying the dip. That Tyrannosaurus Rex is up, I don't know, 6 trillion%. Is dead, just a pile of bones, but up big since the prehistoric era. All right, UPBOptionMillionaires.com. See you in the chat room. Goodbye.